Welcome into Steelers Talk. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today we have a loaded show of Steelers news and rumors to cover with you today. First up on the show, I'm going to be going over the latest mock draft from ESPN NFL Draft Insider and analyst Mel Kiper Jr. It's a 2-round mock draft, so he has the Steelers taking 2 players. I'll give you my scouting report and my take on both of the guys Mel has the Steelers taking. Then we'll also go into the latest Steelers wide receiver trade rumors surrounding guys like Brandon Ayuk, Justin Jefferson, and more. I'll let you know if I actually think the Steelers will end up trading for a wide receiver, and then we'll finish up today's show talking about Dan Moore Jr., who's apparently having a stellar offseason and may even have the chance to be the starting left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers once again in 2024. But I'm a little bit skeptical of that, so make sure you to stick around here for my take on that. But if you want more content from me, Steelers content, NFL draft content, NFL content in general, you can find me on X at Jack_Sperry and at SpareDog.football on Instagram. So if you enjoy yourself today, if you love the channel, if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers, you want daily updates when it comes to the NFL draft and the Steelers, make sure you give me a follow at Jack_Sperry on X or at SpareDog.football on Instagram. So now let's get into this reaction for Mel Kiper Jr.'s third mock draft of the draft season this year. He claims it's his last one. It's a 2-round mock draft. So let's get into it right now with who he has the Steelers taking at number 20, and it is Duke offensive lineman Graham Barton. Now, we've talked about GB on the show quite a bit here over the last 2 weeks or so. I'm a big fan of his, and this is what Mel Kiper Jr. has to say about Barton to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cornerback, wide receiver, center. I wouldn't be surprised with any of these positions for Pittsburgh, which has made a few intriguing additions this offseason. The Steelers parted ways with starting pivot Mason Cole, and taking Barton, my top-ranked center, might even be an upgrade. Barton played center as a freshman, but spent the past 3 seasons at left tackle for the Blue Devils, and I see his pro future along the interior. He allowed just 3 sacks over the past 2 seasons. Now, when I first read this, I was like, he might be an upgrade at center over Mason Cole. Have you watched Mason Cole play over the last 12 months, Mel Kiper Jr.? Because this is clearly a day 1 upgrade if you get Graham Barton in round 1, in my opinion. You look at my scouting report on Barton here. I do have a round 1 grade on him, partly because of the positional versatility. He can play, he's one of those rare offensive linemen that can play all 5 positions, from left tackle all the way to right tackle. He can play all of them at a pretty darn high level. Now, the arm length isn't exactly what you want to see, so I don't think left tackle or right tackle is going to be his best fit. I do think he's going to be more of an interior offensive lineman, but he's got the mentality that you look for. He's got great athleticism and power. He plays with good technique. Now, he can be a little bit off balance at times, like his mentality. He just wants to run somebody over so much sometimes. Sometimes his head can get over his feet and he gets off balance, especially as a run blocker. But, I mean, listen, man, this guy's a dog that can be teached out of him. I think that that's something that is actually a benefit to Graham Barton, because he has the mentality that you look for, and I think he's going to be one hell of a pro. Now, personally, guys, I would rather go offensive tackle here. Tackle is a more high-value position. I think there's going to be a lot of good potential prospects here for the Steelers sitting at number 20, because it's such a deep offensive tackle class. If Amarius Mims or Talise Fuanga is here, I think that's probably going to be the pick. Troy Fontenot out of Washington is another good option if he falls to number 20. I'm pretty sure one of those top tackles is going to be available at 20 for the Steelers. So if it's a choice between a future center and Graham Barton or the offensive tackle, I'm probably going to go with the tackle. But man, if they end up taking Barton, he's a damn good player, so I wouldn't complain about it too much. Now let me know down there in the comment section, would you be happy if the Pittsburgh Steelers took Graham Barton in round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft? Type H if you'd be happy about it, or type M if you'd be mad. Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then in round 2, Mel has the Steelers taking wide receiver out of Washington, Jalen McMillan. Now, personally, guys, I'm a little bit lower on McMillan than Mel is, but let's see what he has to say about the Washington wide receiver before I give my take. George Pickens is the Steelers' clear number 1 wideout, and Deontay Johnson traded to Carolina. But who's their number 2? Van Jefferson? I'm not sold. If they can add a difference maker in round 2, Russell Wilson would have a really solid group of pass catchers. McMillan was overshadowed by Rome Odunze at Washington, but he's a dynamic slot receiver. He missed a few games with injury last year, but he had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2022. Now, personally, guys, I do not love this pick. Like Mel said, he did have a little bit of an injury issue last year, and honestly, when I watch McMillan on tape, I think that he has a very definable and very boxed-in profile here, where he has to go to the right fit, and I'm not sure if that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's a slot-only guy who's not going to be very good in the contested catch situations. He's not very physical at the catch point, and if there's any kind of physicality within the route there between him and the cornerback, he's usually losing it. Now, he does have legit speed. Now, I wouldn't say it's a burner type speed. It's in the 4.4s, not in the 4.3 or in the 4.2s. So it's not like elite speed. It's good speed. And then the route running is pretty darn good, especially on double moves. But I see him more as a true deep threat from the slot. He's kind of slight as well, so he's not going to be a great run blocker. Not sure if that fits with what Arthur Smith wants in a wide receiver. So right now I have a late round 3, early round 4 grade on Jalen McMillan. I think that with the right fit, he could be a decent piece in the slot for somebody. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers that are looking for a true number 2 wide receiver, especially in round 2, I do not think that this is the right pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 51. I mean, probably Roman Wilson might be here at number 51. Malachi Corley. There's a lot of different good wide receiver options that are going to be available on day 2 in the National Football League draft this year, and I just don't think Jalen McMillan is going to be the best wide receiver available for you to take when your pick comes up at number 51. Now, coming up here, my latest wide receiver trade rumors to discuss today. Apparently, the Steelers are still trying pretty darn hard to trade for a star wide receiver, so we'll break that down here in just a second. But before I get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Guys, I'm somebody that loves to get tickets last minute. I'm not somebody that gets tickets like 2-3 weeks in advance. No way, man. I'm just going to be sitting here at my office here at Chat Sports. I'll pull out my Game Time app on my phone, and I'll find some tickets on the Game Time app with their super easy-to-use interface, and I know I have the peace of mind of knowing they have the lowest price guarantee out of any ticketing app out there, and they have flash deals right before the event, so I get even better ticket prices the closer I wait to the event. So whether that's a concert with my girlfriend Cassie, whether that's an NBA basketball game with my boy Coop, whether that be an MLB baseball game just by myself because I love watching baseball live, I can go on the Game Time app and I have the peace of mind of knowing that it's going to be the lowest price guarantee and it's going to be a super convenient experience. Game Time is the fastest growing ticketing app in the U.S. for a reason and is the only ticketing app on the market that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the arena or stadium. And tickets are also sent directly to your phone instead of your email, which is yet another convenient tool that Game Time deploys for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps. It's right down there in the bottom right of your screen for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So according to the Washington Post, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still very active trying to trade for a big-name wide receiver to put on the other side of George Pickens before the start of the 2024 NFL Draft. And when it comes to wide receivers and wide receiver trade targets, two names really stick out to me. There's one name that I think is definitely the most likely guy that they're targeting right now. And if a deal gets done, I think it's going to be for last year's second-team All-Pro wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, currently with the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, Ayuk and the Niners are far apart on contract negotiations, and the Niners have reportedly been shopping him before the 2024 NFL Draft. Obviously, the Steelers are in the market for another wide receiver. So if you're looking for somebody where it's going to be a most likely trade target here, it's going to be Brandon Ayuk because it lines up with the Steelers, what they want, and the San Francisco 49ers what they want. I actually put out a trade idea between the Niners and the Steelers here with a couple of pick swaps here where first and second round picks, you swap them for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the 49ers. You give them the third round pick that you have this year at number 84, and you get Brandon Ayuk. So you still have 3 picks in the first 3 rounds, and you alleviate one of the big team needs on this roster right now by adding an all-pro wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk on the other side of George Pickens, who we all know is an all-world talent. But if you're looking for a dark horse here, and if you're looking for a giant splash that the con artist could pull off, it's Justin Jefferson, all right? Now, I'm not saying that this is likely. I think that the more likely option, like I said, is Brandon Ayuk. But Justin Jefferson has been linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Minnesota Vikings have apparently been shopping him around a little bit to kind of test the waters in terms of what a trade package would look like. So you look at what it's probably going to cost to get Jefferson, who is an all-world caliber talent. Some people believe he's the best receiver in football. It's going to take 2 first-round picks. It's going to take number 20 this year and your first-rounder next year, plus the first third-rounder that you have this year, number 84. Along with this, too, you're going to have to pay him a record-setting contract for a wide receiver, all right? So he is going to be extremely pricey if the Steelers end up making this move. But if you're really going all in and you're trying to win a Super Bowl right now, Justin Jefferson probably gets the most juice out of that squeeze, and he is definitely a budding star in this league. And listen, man, I know ESPN, probably not the most reliable source out there, but they called the Stephon Diggs trade to Houston. They called Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they said, ESPN said a couple weeks ago that the Steelers and Vikings are both working together on a Justin Jefferson trade. So even though take this with a grain of salt, I do think that it's possible that the Steelers and Vikings have had some sort of conversations, and even though I don't think it's going to happen, guys, just keep your eye on Justin Jefferson as a potential wide receiver trade target for the Steelers. And when it comes to a wide receiver trade, I do think Omar Khan is going to get something done before the start of the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, let me know down there in the comment section, between these 2 trade ideas, which one would you rather do? Would you rather pay more for Justin Jefferson, or would you rather pay maybe a little bit less for Brandon Ayuk, who is still an all-pro caliber wide receiver? Type A if you'd like to do the Ayuk deal, or type J if you'd rather do the Justin Jefferson deal. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. So the final story today, let's talk about Dan Moore Jr., who, of course, has been the starting left tackle here in Pittsburgh for a little while now. Hasn't played all too well, especially compared to other left tackles in the National Football League. But Duke Manyweather, his offensive line coach, his personal offensive line coach, well-renowned around the world, is probably the best offensive line coach in the world today, says that he is having a stellar offseason. He looks the best he ever has, and he's ready to go in 2024. This is what Manyweather had to say about him. Every year, people are looking to replace him, talking about Moore Jr., but there's something to be said about the way Dan goes about his business, the way he prepares, and the way he's gotten better every single year. I think the coaching staff and I think the front office respects that. There's a lot more good and average baseline in the NFL than there is elite. You can make the argument that Dan Moore has kind of exceeded expectation for where he was drafted in round 4. I'm excited to see it because I think this offseason so far, it's been his best. Really mature in terms of the way his body's looking right now. He's always worked really hard, but I just see a different sense of urgency in the way he moves, and just like some of the grown man strength is coming. So listen, man, I just don't think you can trust Dan Moore Jr. with another year as the starting left tackle of this football team. I mean, they drafted Broderick Jones to replace him last year, and, you know, it's not like he had a stellar season in 2023 either. I mean, it was the career low for him in the Pro Football Focus grade department here. He was the 63rd overall ranked offensive tackle in football with a 54.3. Which was a dip from 2022, and we all know Dan Moore Jr. wasn't all that good back in 2022 either. So you take a look at his numbers from last year and kind of the splits between pass block grade and run block grade. He's a little bit better as a run blocker here at 60.4, but that pass block grade, man, it is brutal at 42.1. That's 78th out of 81 eligible offensive tackles in football. So listen, man, I like Moore. I think he's a hard worker. I think he deserves a spot on this roster as a swing tackle with experience that could come in on either the left or right side and give you some reps if somebody gets hurt. But to trust him with another season as a starting offensive tackle, I think would be malpractice from the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is trying to win now. You need to protect Russell Wilson. He's somebody that, especially on third downs, loves to hold on to the football for long periods of time. You need an offensive tackle on both sides of the formation that is going to be able to protect Russ so that he can do his thing. And I just don't think Dan Moore Jr., with his history, I don't care what his offensive line coach, who, by the way, is getting paid by Dan Moore Jr., I don't care what that guy says to the media in a podcast, all right? What I care about is the production on the field. It just hasn't been there for Dan Moore Jr., so Omar Khan, draft a tackle in round 1. But let me know down there in the comments section what you think about DMJ. Should they give him one more chance to start this season at offensive tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Give me a yes or no. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments section. Another reminder here, if you want more content from me, I'm at Jack_Sperry on X and at SpareDog.football on Instagram. And that is going to be it for today's show, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already for premium Steelers content for free every single day right here on YouTube.